best quotes of all time, where the greatest quotes on the planet become your superpower.
Setting goals is the first step to turning the invisible into the visible. Tony Robbins, when the goal has not yet been named, the dream is just a thin mist drifting in the mind. It has a vague shape, beautiful but impossible to grasp. The moment we set a goal is the moment we light a lamp in that mist, allowing the light to gather scattered dream particles into a path with a clear starting point and direction. A goal is like an anchor dropped into the deep sea of willpower, keeping our lifeboat from drifting amid countless forks in the road. In its profound meaning, setting a goal is a silent dialogue between us and ourselves. We ask who we want to become, what we want to reach, and how much we're willing to pay for it. When the question is answered with a specific goal, the invisible, like faith, aspiration, or hope, begins to take on the form of a plan of small, measurable steps. Each passing day, the goal acts like a lighthouse, not dispelling all storms, but bright enough to keep us from losing our way. And in that journey, people feel a positive energy, the sense of living with purpose, moving forward, even if slowly. In the end, looking back, we realize the greatest visible thing is not just the result achieved, but a stronger version of ourselves shaped from an initially fragile goal. All blaming is a waste of time. No matter how many faults you find in others or how you blame them, it doesn't change anything about you. Jack Canfield, when we blame, we think we're shedding a burden, but in reality, we're just standing still before the door of change. The faults of others, no matter how clearly exposed, are like cracks in the neighbor's wall. We can point, analyze, even get annoyed, but our own house doesn't become sturdier because of it. The time spent on reproach slips away quietly, leaving behind fatigue and an unfilled void without action. At a deeper level, blaming is a subtle way to avoid personal responsibility. It gives us a temporary feeling of innocence, that the cause of failure lies in circumstances, people, or fate. But the truth is, no matter how many faults we find in others, we ourselves remain in place, not moving a step forward, like a rower who only stares at the swirling water to complain, forgetting the oar is in their own hands. Only when we turn our gaze inward, accepting the necessary responsibility, do we begin to move. Not colored by accusation, but containing a positive and liberating energy. When we stop blaming, we reclaim control over our life. Instead of asking, "Who made me this way?" we start asking, "What can I do next?" That very question opens the door to growth, where people learn to turn failure into lessons and hurt into strength. And then, in the silence of personal responsibility, we find a peaceful realization. No need to change others, just change ourselves, and the world before us begins to differ. To succeed, we must first believe that we can. Nikos Kazantzakis. Strength is like a seed quietly cracking its shell in the dark soil. Belief is the first moment when a person dares to stand up within themselves before the world has time to acknowledge or oppose. Without belief, success is just a distant concept, like a hazy mountain on the horizon. We see it, but don't dare to walk because we doubt if our feet are steady enough. Belief is the invisible bridge connecting hidden potential to specific action, turning possible into doing. In essence, believing in oneself doesn't mean certain victory, but accepting to step forward even without seeing the entire path. It's like lighting a small candle in the dark night. That light doesn't dispel all darkness, but enough to see the next step. When people believe they can, they begin to allow themselves to try, fail, fix, and continue. Each stumble is no longer proof of failure, but a milestone proving we're advancing. Conversely, lack of belief makes us withdraw right from the starting line, closing the door before opportunity knocks. Success doesn't start from perfect conditions, but from an inner decision. When we believe in our abilities, the world around seems to change its response. Difficulties don't vanish, but no longer have the power to deter us. And in that long journey, we realize the most precious thing is not just the success achieved, but the mental strength forged from the initial belief. The belief that, no matter what, we can continue and rise. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Socrates. Not to classify people for judgment, but to reflect on how we are using our thinking capacity each day. Thinking, like a river, can flow wide into the vast sea of ideas, or meander in the narrow bends of people's stories. Where the river flows reflects its depth. Great minds direct their gaze beyond the present. They talk about ideas like seeds of the future. Ideas have no concrete form, but possess the power to change the world like wind, invisible, but strong enough to shift a ship's course. When people discuss ideas, they connect intellect with vision, with values, with possibilities that have never existed. Meanwhile, average minds stop at events. What has happened is happening, real and easy to grasp. Events are like footprints in the sand, helping us understand the past and present. But if we only stare at them, we forget to choose the next direction. At a lower level, when conversations revolve only around people, who's right, who's wrong, who's better, who's worse, thinking gradually shrinks like a room without windows. Not because people aren't important, but because dwelling on evaluation, gossip, and judgment often creates no new value. It consumes energy without expanding awareness, like spinning in an endless reflecting mirror. The saying thus carries a positive and awakening reminder. Elevate the quality of thinking to elevate the quality of life. When we choose to talk about ideas, we silently step beyond our limits, expand our minds, and move closer to a more mature, profound, and freer version of ourselves. True wisdom is realizing how little we know about life, about ourselves, and about the world around us. Socrates, not glorifying vast knowledge, but bowing before the fragile limits of humanity. When young, we often believe knowledge is a glittering crown. The more we accumulate, the more it proves our superiority. But over time, as experiences touch the hidden corners of life, we gradually realize each answer opens more questions, and the greater the knowledge, the deeper the sense of not knowing. The wisdom in this saying is like the calm surface of a deep lake. Wise people don't need to prove they know much, for they understand life isn't a problem with a single answer. They are aware that they see the world through a very small lens, limited by personal experiences, emotions, and circumstances. That humility helps them listen more, learn more, and judge less. Realizing our knowledge is finite doesn't weaken us. On the contrary, it frees us from the illusion of control, allowing us to open up to life's diversity and complexity. About ourselves, this wisdom is even more profound. We think we know ourselves well, but in reality, people always change, like a river that's never the same water. When we accept that we don't fully understand ourselves, we allow ourselves to err, correct, and grow. With the world around us, instead of trying to label right or wrong, we learn to observe, empathize, and accompany. The message of the saying carries positive and serene energy. Wisdom isn't standing high, looking down, but standing amid life, aware of our smallness, to live slower, deeper, and more sincerely with ourselves and others.